The headline screams cyber warfare or a tech race, but the leaked documents reveal something far more primitive and brutal. Russia and China aren't trying to hack Starlink's code, they are planning Cold War-style kinetic strikes against the physical hardware on your driveway. The strategic insight here is that in modern asymmetric warfare, destroying the ground terminal matters more than jamming the signal. This exposes a critical vulnerability where satellites can be replaced in orbit, but if you blow up the user terminals, the network dies instantly. For years, viewers have assumed space warfare meant shooting down satellites or jamming signals from a distance. The prevailing narrative suggests that digital defenses are the primary battlefield. However, recent academic analyses from Chinese institutions reveal a starkly different reality. Researchers at the National University of Defense Technology and East China Normal University frames Starlink not as a commercial internet service, but as the cornerstone of U.S. endless frontier military doctrine. These documents argue that while Western narratives focus on signal jamming or cyber hacking, adversaries are shifting toward physical destruction of ground terminals. This represents a fundamental shift in how great powers view strategic stability. The logic is rooted in incentives and constraints rather than moral outrage. In the Cold War era, deterrence relied heavily on nuclear arsenals where mutual assured destruction kept peace through fear. Today, that definition has expanded to include non-nuclear technologies that degrade an opponent's ability to survive a strike. Adversaries view Starlink as a destabilizing factor because it allows Ukraine and potential future allies to bypass terrestrial network failures. This effectively neutralizes traditional kinetic advantages held by larger land powers, who rely on destroying fixed infrastructure like power grids or command centers. The core of this vulnerability lies in the architecture itself. Unlike traditional satellites which can be replaced if destroyed in orbit, the Starlink network relies heavily on thousands of user terminals distributed globally. The research indicates that disabling these physical nodes is a more effective way to sever asymmetric communication lines than attempting to jam signals from space. This creates a paradox where the most resilient network has its weakest link right here on your roof or driveway. If an adversary can physically target these terminals, they sever the link between the battlefield and command structures without needing to engage satellites directly. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. Consider the economic calculus driving this strategy. The United States relies on private sector speed and resilience in low Earth orbit. Since the project launched in 2015, thousands of assets have been deployed to create a dense mesh network. However, Chinese assessments identify this reliance on distributed physical hardware as a strategic choke point. It is significantly cheaper and faster for an adversary to destroy a $1,000 terminal than it is to develop countermeasures for satellites moving at 17,500 miles per hour or engaging in complex cyber warfare that requires specialized skills. This shift explains why states are prioritizing kinetic options over cyber ones in their current planning documents. The goal is not merely to disrupt data flow but to physically eliminate the interface between human operators and orbital assets. By targeting the ground equipment, an adversary can cut off command and control faster than any digital attack could achieve. This approach bypasses the need for sophisticated electronic warfare suites that might be jammed or spoofed in return. Instead, it relies on blunt force against infrastructure that is visible, accessible, and essential for survival in a modern conflict zone. The implications of this doctrine are profound for how we understand future conflicts involving great powers. In any scenario where major competitors clash, your local internet connection becomes more than just consumer technology. It transforms into a strategic military asset designed to be destroyed first. The research highlights that physical destruction of ground nodes is now prioritized over cyber threats in modern asymmetric warfare planning because the payoff is immediate and total. Once the terminals are gone, the network goes dark regardless of how many satellites remain intact above us. Current data suggests there are already 13,000 plus active satellites currently in low Earth orbit, creating a complex web that seems nearly impossible to disrupt digitally. Yet this sheer volume does not solve the problem of physical access at ground level. The density of assets makes digital targeting difficult, but also highlights how critical each individual node is to the overall system's function. When you remove enough nodes through kinetic means, the redundancy built into the constellation collapses under its own weight as users lose connectivity simultaneously across vast regions. This strategic evolution forces a re-evaluation of what constitutes national security in an age where commercial tech drives military capability. The Endless Frontier strategy leverages AI and cloud computing for low-latency military intelligence, but it assumes that ground infrastructure remains secure. If adversaries can strike the physical layer with impunity, then the entire digital advantage evaporates overnight. This is why analysts at East China Normal University emphasize that destroying user terminals disrupts communication networks more effectively than electronic jamming ever could. The publication of these findings in journals like the Journal of International Security Studies, which has been a key venue for such scholarship since 1982, signals an open acknowledgement among Chinese strategists that physical attrition is now the preferred method of countering U.S. technological superiority. They are not looking to win a war of code or algorithms, but rather to impose costs that make continued operation unsustainable for their opponents. The focus is on breaking the chain of command by removing the tools soldiers and civilians use to coordinate, creating chaos where order once existed. For curious viewers following global events, this reveals that the next phase of great power competition is about blunt force against infrastructure on the ground. It explains why states are prioritizing kinetic options over cyber ones. It's cheaper and faster to destroy a terminal than to develop countermeasures for thousands of satellites moving at high velocity. This changes how you understand modern conflict, moving away from abstract digital battles toward tangible physical destruction that can end communication lines instantly. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.